Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and fix several years of financial misbehaviour. And if that is something that you are interested in following along with, please do consider liking and subscribing and checking out the other videos that I've created for you. It really means an awful lot that you are here with me today. Now, I have decided, as I am now fully unemployed, partially by my own choice, that I am going to aggressively start destashing and selling an awful lot of my stuff, partially to derive some form of an income, but also to make space. Now, in about a year or so's time, I will most likely, in fact, I can't really see a scenario where I stay in my current rental property, and I will probably be in a position where I have to downsize or just have to move. Now, I only want to be moving with things that have value to me, that I do want to keep and that I want to have long term in my life. But equally, as someone who is creative, who has just accumulated things as an emotional spender, there's an awful lot of clutter and chaos in my life. And these things are all things that can be sold. And equally, not only can they derive an income, but they can also help someone form an emergency fund or give someone short-term cash if they are short for a bill or they've got a debt that they, are maybe like £100 or $100 or so being able to clear, and going ahead and doing that. So this is what this video is about. It's where do you start with selling your things. If you've never done this before and you're new to budgeting and you've looked at different kind of budgeting personalities out there, and I'm going to make reference to the fact that Dave Ramsey says, look, sell so much that the kids think they're next. And there is some method to that madness, really. It's, do these things, do you need these things right now? Now, I'm going to caveat with some of those things, and I've got a lovely kind of list that I want to take you through. And this is more of a structured video about what do you do if you have never found yourself in the position where you have to sell the things that you've emotionally bought, or you're downsizing quickly, or actually it's let's just massively declutter. But in this time of financial hardship, recession, cost of living crisis, debt payoff, whatever the big existential thing is, where do you start? So this video is for you. So without further ado, here is the big selling brain dump, as I've affectionately called this. Now, I've got two sides of A4 that I'm going to take you through here, and we're just going to kind of go through and discuss bit by bit. So grab a coffee. I have mine in my Slytherin Harry Potter mug, and I'm going to have one just quick sip for you now. That is a double shot of potted coffee today because it's needed. And we're going to start. So the easiest thing to do if you're looking around your house and you don't know where to start is basically department out your house. Now that is like, hang on, Nicole, what on earth do you mean by department out? Look at your bookshelves, look at your DVD cabinet, look at, if you're a hobbyist like myself, I work an awful lot with fabrics, look at your fabrics, pick a kid's room, pick a kid's closet if you have kids. When did they last wear that? Play with that, show any interest in it whatsoever. And the same for yourself as an adult. When was the last time you watched that DVD? Do you already have everything on streaming services or downloaded, etc.? When was the last time you read that book? Have you read that book in a year? Do you really want it anymore? When did you last pick up that hobby? Do you really have time for it? Do that costume jewellery, that dress in the wardrobe that's still got its tags on, that you've not worn, you've gained or lost or whatever, or actually your style has changed as a person? Department out your house. And I'm going to show you just very quickly in a couple of clips that if you've seen my behind the scenes short now, what my house departments look like. And I haven't yet worked out how to narrate over the top of them, so they're going to be clips with just a little bit of music of my living room bookshelves, and then my conservatory, and you can kind of see where everything is zoned out together. So I'm going to show you those clips now, and then I'm going to come back to you. So as you can see, although my house is kind of seemingly in a perpetual state of chaos, you can see the big pile in the middle by my bookshelves. That is where I've pulled out things that I need to sort because I know that I want to sell them, but I just need to organise them a little bit more. You can see with regards to my bookshelves and in the conservatory where I've got kind of things separated out, miscellaneous stationery, boxes of sewing patterns, bags for life full of polos on the floor. You can see where I've kind of, as I've gone along, gone, okay, that's a department, that's a department, that's a department. I need to get to that or I'm in the middle of sorting it. So that's what I mean by department out your life or department out your house. Just make a list, don't attack them first. Because once you've made a list, focus on one at a time. Now, if you are a single person like myself, you don't have to like run through this with anyone. Like Bowie the cat does not have an input, but I do appreciate that if you have kids or a partner or a significant other or a housemate or you're living with siblings and family, that this might be a bit more of a committee meeting than you maybe want it to be. Just make sure that whatever you are focusing on, if it's the DVDs or the books or the clothing or whatever, that actually whoever you're living with is completely on board and okay with you getting rid of that item. It is not worth having a discussion, shall we say, further down the line because someone's holding a grudge because you got rid of, I don't know, a box set that they hadn't yet got round to watching. So the next section is to give yourself a dedicated portion of time each week. Or if speed is of the essence because you need to get cash quickly or you've been given an eviction notice and you need to get the space and the cash, treat this like a full-time job and drop everything else that's miscellaneous in your life. So that's probably going to be slightly controversial. I am obviously treating this like a full-time job because it's what I now have time for. But you can either, say give yourself an hour a day or, 2 or 3 hours each week where you go, I'm going to address department 1, the bookshelves, process those and get them out. Or actually you can sit there and say, okay, myself, other half, child 1, child 2, right, we're going to have to divide and conquer. Child 2, I need you to sort through your toys. Child 1, you're going to pull out your wardrobe. I want to know everything that you don't like or you don't wear. Significant other, it's time to address the things that you're hoarding in your shed. So there's a couple of options there. Give yourself a dedicated portion of time each week, or if speed is of the essence, basically grab as much time as you possibly can to get that in. And obviously those circumstances are unique to yourself. Next one, make sure any accounts that you sell on, so eBay, Vinted, Facebook Marketplace, are in good standing. If you owe any back eBay fees from eons ago, make sure they're paid. Make sure that your reviews on Vinted, for example, show that you're a good seller and that there's no blocks on the account. If you're selling on Facebook Marketplace, just make sure that everything's all in check there and that no one's kind of done any reporting or anything. Just make sure that actually before you go and list places, what you don't want is a hold on an eBay account or a Vinted account where actually you don't want to post with Royal Mail. You maybe want to post with another provider, but all you've done is set your settings to Royal Mail, so just go through and check those, and at the same time that you are a member on Facebook of any specific selling groups. I'm on loads of fabric and sewing pattern destashing groups, for example, and they're often the best place for me to sell those items because I'm selling to people who have like-minded interests and are more likely to spend in that item. Then write down a structured list to keep on track and organised. And I'm going to show you mine in a second on the next page so you can get an idea of what that is. And for me, I really, really need it because I have a really short attention span. I get distracted really easily. And especially when there's a lot of kind of chaos at the minute in my house. And I've just kind of come to the realisation that a lot of the videos I've been showing a chaotic house is purely because I've not had time to deal with it. And at the minute it's really, I'm having to purposefully stay on focus on a particular item on my list, and I've actually written out my list in order of importance because of how much space and stuff it takes. So do that list to keep on track and keep organised. Get your family to contribute to that list if you've obviously got to get your family involved. Portion out that list, say, right, you're taking this department and I'm taking this department, and kind of keep going there. If you're really good at the photographing, but your other half is fantastic at like getting the preparation done, so if the item needs to be cleaned or maintained or repaired or laundered or anything like that, like divide and conquer if you can. Don't lose your head, don't get distracted, and stay practical. Don't sit there and go after a really hard day at work, or the kids have been maybe not the best behaved, or they've been quite draining, or the divide and conquer approach isn't working with your other half and it's getting quite difficult to manage. Like, just walk away for a second. Even if time is of the essence, just walk away from the chaos. And if you need to put the chaos that is you destashing and sorting your house, if you need to bundle that into a cupboard so that you don't look at it for a little while, that's completely fine. So don't lose your head, don't get distracted, and just stay practical. Like, stay practical with your pricing, stay practical with your ability to manage this. It is either a marathon if it needs to be a marathon for you, or it is a sprint if you need it to be a sprint, and it is only for you to determine how you then treat that. But that's why I've said, look, give yourself a dedicated portion of time, or if speed is of the essence, get that structure in place. If speed is of the essence and you need cash in quick, focus on the items that you know are going to give yourself the most amount of money to start with, and then you can focus on the things that, like, a DVD bundles that you might only get £1 or £2 or $2 for, but actually if you sold the box that's $40, just sell the box set for $40, come back to the single items later. Like, it's things like that. Be really realistic and practical with your pricing and your expectations as well. Like, really measure your expectations. Just because you bought an item for X amount doesn't mean that someone else is going to buy that item for X amount, and you've really got to weigh up what the cash to you is worth versus the cash that you paid out for it. Basically, you bought that item, and the item, since it's been in your home and in your life, has essentially depreciated, unless you're sitting on like a Harry Potter first edition, first print hardback book at like £28,000, which I think the latest one just sold for like auction, in which case, like, yes. But that's not most of us. Let's just try and measure our expectations here and give ourselves a really realistic and practical focus. Basically, I'm gonna have another sip of coffee. So, however, there is a caveat to all of this, and I'm really speaking from experience here. If you are emotionally attached to an item, do not sell it. Please believe me when I say that the regret is not worth it at all. I have lost count of the amount of items that I have sold for quick cash because I've been in a bind and then really regretted it, and that regret did so much damage to my mental health and did so much damage to my ability to control my emotional spending that actually the payoff wasn't worth it. I ended up spending more money as a result of losing that item than I did getting money in for that item at the time. And I can look back on that now and kind of acknowledge that was what was going on with my head. But there are things that I absolutely will not sell. I have high value jewellery that's not going anywhere. I've got cardigans and garments from my great nan, who I love dearly, who's no longer with me, that I will not sell ever. I've got my mum's 30th birthday dress that I can remember. I've got the suit that my dad wore for something that was really like important. I've got my nan's 40th wedding anniversary dress. I've got all sorts of things that like high level vintage stuff as well, like my great nan's like vintage dresses that she handmade in the 1940s, like they're not going anywhere. I've got a Mary Quant mini skirt, which obviously now at the minute, because Mary Quant has just died, is probably worth something, but that was my nan's in the 1960s. Like, I'm not selling those items. They mean an awful lot to me. So if you are emotionally attached or sentimental about a certain item or a department in your life, don't get rid of it. Please believe me that like there are other ways that cash will come into your life. Just don't. That regret is not worth it at all. There are so many stories out there of people who are like, I sold this because I was under the influence of this, and now I regret it, and it was really rare and I could never get it back. Or I was in an absolute bind and I sold my nan's wedding ring, for example, and I've never been able to find it again, and that's the thing I regret the most. Like, just don't, please don't put yourself in that position. And then lastly, track your sales and pace yourself. Track what you're selling and where and how much you've sold it for. If you've accepted an offer or you have noticed that a certain item has sold particularly quickly and you have more of that item or similar things, try and use that to inform what you're doing. And then you may find that actually you have that will help feed your structure and your organisation. So let's just quickly show you my big selling list. And this is true to life. This is literally what I am selling, and for some reason I've just learnt this in coffee. Brilliant, even though I've not spilled coffee. Wonderful. So here is what I'm actually going through and selling. Now, I have a very, 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 very large number of Lacoste men's vintage polos. The things I accumulate in my life over the years, these things all need to be gone. Now, I've literally broken up what I need to do, and I'm dealing with these first because I'm running out of space to store these and they're causing me grief and chaos. So they are gone, and they are also worth money because it's actual Lacoste. So I need to launder them, I need to iron them, I need to photograph them, I need to upload them, and then I need to store them if I can't sell them quickly, because I really want to store them so I don't have to re-launder them or re-iron them. Local Facebook group. These are like gold mines. If you ignore the drama and the gossip and so-and-so twitching the curtains and moaning about the kids actually just cycling, playing out on the street, and whoever didn't pick up the latest dog crap, if you ignore those and you actually find your local Facebook selling group for your village or your town, these can be really, really good. But what you might need to do is obviously pull out the items. Obviously, as you can see here, clean them up, present them, photograph, list them, weed out time wasters. Don't accept anything less than what you're prepared to sell an item for, or actually the offer needs to be really, really reasonable. And if you've got someone who's asking constant questions, question, can I have more photos, that's a massive red flag. Please avoid anyone that you're selling to just across any of the platforms, because it's basically a surefire way for them to get an item and then turn around, find a fault with it, and basically try and get a false refund and get to keep the item as well, and there's nothing wrong with it. So weed out time wasters. There are actually really plenty of other really, really good tips and tricks videos if you are going to look at hardcore selling on eBay or Vinted or anything like that. Shoes, both mine, other people's, through films and stuff, obviously pull them out. I need to clean or shine them, make them look presentable, photograph them, list them, store them together so that there's no mixing of sizes. Clothing, same again, launder and iron, photograph, list, etc. Now, what I'm probably going to do with this, where I've not actually split it down further, is where I've got brand specific items, or I have got lots of one brand, some of another, I might actually just list all of brand 1, all of brand 2, all of brand 3, sell 1, then move on to 2, then move on to 3. It depends how much I have here. Books are interesting because there are places like Ziffit and We Buy Books that will, you basically scan the barcode and send them in, but often because they are wholesale, they're buying from you at a wholesale price, so then they can resell on at a retail value. Do just double check the value of that book that you are selling. And places like eBay and Vinted now also sell books as well, but also don't forget to check out Facebook specific buying and selling groups as well. So do scan for the value and see if they're offering you more than say 50p for a certain book, and it's coming up at the wholesaler is prepared to pay you £5 or £6. It's just worth doing a little bit of extra research, but I do acknowledge that takes an awful lot of time, and that is why, to be honest, books and jewellery are only just appearing here, because same again, this isn't fancy jewellery, this is costume jewellery that I've accumulated over the years for films and things like that, or things that I bought for myself. Nothing that's high value, no gold, silver, jewels or platinum or anything like that. But just things that actually, you've got to arrange them, you've got to photograph them, then you've got to check them, make sure the clasps are working, you've got to clean them if they've gone tarnished. Things that take a little bit more work are down the bottom of my list, and the things that I can get done fairly quickly, so the clothing and the local Facebook groups, are near the top. And again, same for DVDs. If you have got the entirety of Star Wars 1 to 9, for example, it might just be worth selling that as a bundle. Someone would buy it. If you've got a large collection of Disney DVDs and you've maybe got repeats, or you now just have a subscription only plan and, you don't want to look at it and have this physical item anymore, look at your bundle options. Make sure that obviously the discs are fine, so you might need to go through and check the discs. But again, so that might take a little bit of work, which again is why I've not yet hit books, jewelry and DVDs. But look at bundle options there, because you may find that there you get a little bit more for an item than just a single value one. Focus on where you can bundle first, maybe, before you then look at individual DVDs. And what you've also got to think of as well with books and jewelry and DVDs actually is that you might only get, say, £1 or £2 an item, but actually what you probably have of these items is volume. So don't get disheartened and go, well, I'm only getting like $1 or £2 or whatever for that item. But if you've got like 30 of those items, that's 60 quid. So you've got to try and think of it that way. Try and change your mindset a little bit and just go, okay, well, just because someone's prepared to pay not a lot, but if you've got a lot of those items, it's where it's worth thinking that way. Now, for me, this is where we get like really, really, really hobby specific. And I've specifically included this in here, A, because I'm going to be working off this list, but also because I want you to try and just see what opportunities there are, particularly if you are a card maker or a scrapbooker or someone who does embossing or anything like that. Like if you've got cards that you've made up that you've not sent, but you've got the envelopes and they're just blank cards, like sell the cards, like just do things like that. But for me, for my fabric, I really need to go through and aggressively sort that out. You've seen in the garage behind the scenes videos that I've been showing you. I've got an awful lot of fabric. That is not a quick job for me to sort through, because then once I've sorted it and selected it, it may need laundering. I need to measure the width and the length. I need to photograph it. If it's if it's got a certain fabric content or any defining feature, or it's a specific brand, all of that I need to like note down and pin to the fabric, because I will forget it. I need to list it. Am I selling it per meter or by just overall bolt? And then I need to store it. And again, the same again with like crafting materials. If I decide that because I'm not interested in, let's say like that big haul that I bought from the charity shop with all the scrapbooking and the embossing, say that like I'm not interested in the die cutting because I can't really afford to get a machine and it's something that's just not really for me, and I decide to sell off all the die cutting materials, I need to look at whether I'm going to bundle them out or separate them out. I need to research their value. I need to then obviously write out the details. I need to photograph them, and then I need to like store them safely so I don't lose them, because when my house is like chaotic because I'm super sorting, that has an effect. You can lose things easily. And as again there, just you can see the same for scrapbooking materials, fabric fat quarters, I should say, bundle them out, sell them as separates, etc, etc. And then finally, if you're going to do a car boot or a yard sale or go to a flea market or anything like that, where are you going to store these items? Because this is something that I'm not going to be doing for at least 2 months, but I'm already going through and sorting out now. And what I'm actually going to do is see if any of the items maybe go on the local Facebook groups first. And that's why this is at the bottom, because realistically the car boot will be anything that I take that I haven't managed to sell through here, or items where like I know that like it's just easier to sell it that way, like the bundle of wires and cords for old phone chargers that can go at 50p a pop, that for phones that I don't even have anymore, or devices that I no longer use because the devices themselves broke, but the cords and chargers you've just kept. Everything like that, go through, organise, pre-price it up, put it in. I'm literally going to have a box where it's like everything in this box, 50p each, like no offers, no arguments. And I'm going to get those boxes in place, and then everything is going to be there and sorted. So that is, in essence, my guide for how to start with destashing and deselling. And I know it's like, for some of you in the really in the budgeting community who's been doing this for a while, it's like, yeah, Nicole, we know this, but you'll be amazed the amount of people that are just like, I don't even know where to start with this, so I just give it to a charity shop, and then they tell you what they've given away, and you're sitting there going, oh my goodness, you've just given £100 worth of stuff to a charity shop that could have been money in your pocket, particularly in this day and age. So that's why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to come back with something that was a bit informational, a bit more structured, something that's true to my life and what I've got going on in the minute, and also something that's just going to try and give back to you guys to help. It's really hard to talk about it as like a family affair, because it is just me that's doing it, and I am in the position where I can do this full time. But hopefully there's enough between this and between this that actually you can work out a way for this to work for you. So I hope that you've liked this video. Thank you so much for watching. I am definitely going to be back this Sunday with the Savings Challenge Sunday video, because I've started to accumulate some change for that. And then I will see you next week as well with something else, which I have yet to decide on what that's going to be. But I will see you very soon. I'm going to love you and leave you now, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.